This project at the CCC camp on the west branch of the White River is a unique opportunity that the Forest Service had. The Upper White River and the West Branch are two areas where there's a lot of national forest land in the valley bottom. And this area here at the CCC camp is where we sort of started our work back in the early 90s to learn about valley bottom stream restoration, putting large wood into channels, creating pools, monitoring fish populations. When Tropical Storm Irene hit, some material was removed from the West Branch, gravel, to rebuild the highway. And it left the river wide and shallow in a condition that is not conducive to good fish habitat or stable river geometry. And that's when we began to talk about what we could do and the opportunity we had here to work with our partners to try and do a couple of things. Restore the habitat, so it was once again a decent fishing section. And also to demonstrate how, after a disaster or the next Irene, how we can try and manage the river in a way that's going to make it more stable, more flood resilient, and the habitat more resilient. So we got the partners together, and we had our Forest Service regional geologists to assist us with the design and the assessment. We had our surveyors come in and do a topographic survey of the whole reach, then to take that topographic survey and try and create a new plan form and profile and dimensions of the river. And after several iterations of that, we had something that would fit in the valley here without moving outside of the area that had already been disturbed.
To the best of my knowledge, this is the largest of this type of reconstruction in the state of Vermont, or even in the Northeast, of this magnitude of this large area that we've done. We were very fortunate that the water level has been quite low because it's been so dry this year. But the first step was getting the largest area that we can to be in the dry, because constructing in the dry without the river flowing is the easiest construction. So we diverted into a side channel, a flood chute, created a large cofferdam with material that we were going to remove anyways. So we diverted the stream and left approximately 3/4 of a mile or so of dry riverbed that we were able to construct within. Then as we moved downstream, we would shift flow to one side or the other depending on what we were working on or what side of the stream, and we diverted it several times back and forth. And so the first step after we got the riverbed dry was we roughed in the channel. We went through, we took a stake out of the layout of the center line of the channel, worked off from that to set out where the banks, roughed it in, hauled out material that was excess material that wasn't needed, or filled in areas where it was needed, and started to rough in deeper pools. And from there, we started going to individual sections and constructing the individual structures, whether it be a log jam or a rock vein or digging out a deeper pool. And then from there, we started working our way out, building the banks up, doing these toe rocks and things like that to stabilize the embankments.
The vein arms were built as part of this structure for stability and for some bank protection, but also during high flows to channel that water into the pool to help maintain that pool shape and size. You get the pool tail out, and then often there's a riffle that follows afterwards. And that's kind of the pattern, a pool riffle system. The other thing about the pools that's important is that they're fish habitat. So they provide cover, they provide cold water, they provide depth during the winter when we get ice buildup, so that fish have refuge down below, and they have feeding lanes created by all that flow that comes in through the gaps. The riffles that are being built contain ribs. Ribs are for roughness and for helping maintain channel dimensions. They help slow the velocity of the water moving through, so that when you have high water, they're actually slowing that down so that it's not going to be ripping out the bank down below.
So one of the things that's kind of unique about the design that we're doing here is we're incorporating a lot of large wood. And in the East, we've been removing wood from systems for 300 years as a thing of that it's bad. But actually, wood is really good. Wood helps buffer floods. It creates complex habitat, helps form pools. It retains leaf litter and small twigs and things for benthic organisms that help supply the food chain going on. What we use to help maintain the pools is we place the large wood in the bends of the river, and we extend it out into the pools to create cover and really complex scour patterns. Instead of having the banks eroding and moving laterally, it transfers that scour down to the bed, so you're able to maintain the pool.
So these jams are constructed with crisscrossing logs and overlapping logs, and some are sticking out into the channel, some are way up high, and they're meant to be that way, designed that way, mimicking Mother Nature. One of our operators commented after constructing one of these, saying this looks like all the debris jams that I pulled out of the river after Irene, and they were really tough to pull apart, he said. And that was music to our ears. We want these to look like a natural jam. We want them to be messy and collect a lot of material and continue to sort of bind together and get tighter over time with more material.
And so what we do is we go in and start planting willows down in the base and the voids, and then we plant trees all across the top. As these structures age, and depending upon the species, how fast they rot and the diameter, we expect anywhere from 20 to probably 35 plus years for a log jam. In that time, the trees that we plant on the top, those trees start to become nurse logs. The wood that is embedded in the bank lasts a lot longer than some of the face materials, so we may lose some pieces in time, but again, that root structure and the trees growing, that essentially hardens that area, which is really what we're looking at. And then once that happens, the river can start to move again and change its position laterally and adjust. And then plus that 25 to 35 year time frame, the trees get much bigger in behind us, and they get big enough so that they start to fall in as the river moves. So then itself, it's a self-sustaining thing.
So this phase of the West Branch project is approximately a mile long. It's probably close to 5,000 feet. And about probably a third of that is national forest land, and the other 2/3 are private landowners upstream and downstream. And there are 5 or 6 private landowners that signed on to the project, literally signed agreements with the White River Partnership to participate and allow access and allow the restoration work to happen.
The Forest Service initially made contact with some of the landowners. They had landowner meetings, and we were involved in that. And in some cases, because we were using funds from NRCS, we applied on behalf of the landowners, so we grouped landowners together and then we applied for funds on their behalf. So getting permission from those landowners to do that and the language that made NRCS happy.
It's been a pleasure working with the Forest Service. They approached us and said, hey, do you want to collaborate on this? There wasn't any pointing of fingers. We all just wanted to get together and do the right thing, fix the river. I think ultimately it's going to be a net gain. I do want to say I'm actually really proud of V-Trans for stepping up to the table. Everybody at V-Trans who's been involved with this has been an eager and willing partner, wanting to do the right thing, wanting to restore this river to a natural state.
We've worked with wood with the Forest Service before in the streams, mostly putting them in the stream for fish habitat. We've always done this kind of work, just maybe not of this magnitude. And this is a good job for us close to home. And we harvested the trees a year ago for the Forest Service in Granville, which was a feat by itself because they were so tall. And went about it, and got it done, and got them here.
Yeah, it's been a great project, definitely rewarding. We've all learned a lot on this and things that we can take into the future, and hopefully teach other people how we can use wood differently than putting a lot of large riprap in the river to stabilize the banks. And the biggest thing, the biggest reward I see out of this, I think, is all the people, including the neighbors and private property owners, all working together for this end result.
The other thing that we really want folks to think about is when you have your next flood recovery opportunity, to think about the recovery both of your transportation your infrastructure and your aquatic habitat. Think about it in an integrated way. Bring the experts together so that the transportation corridor and the river corridor are managed and dealt with in a way that is going to benefit both of them and not sacrifice one or the other. There's been many partners involved in this project along the way. It was really a group effort, both in terms of bringing resources to it and just offering general support for demonstrating and trying a project of this scale.